Welcome everyone to week 5. We are really in the meat of the course now. As I mentioned last week, you're in the middle of project 2, which is to launch a website, and this week helps you get into the details of that a little bit more. So we'll go through site design guidelines. We will also do a topic on credit card payments. Whether or not you're going to use credit card payments, this is very useful. There's an assignment portion, and then there's an optional application portion if you're actually going to use it on your website. And then we've got our reflection and our student feedback. Hopefully I'll remember to mention this a couple times, but please take a moment to leave your feedback. I try to make changes every semester based on student feedback. Your experience in the course is really important to me. A lot of the things I do now or don't do have been based on feedback from students in the past. And so this is a really critical data point for me as I look at the class each semester and say, how do we need to change? How do we need to get better? So I would love to hear your feedback on this, through this assignment here. We will jump into our first assignment, which are site design guidelines. This is really to introduce you to some of the things happening in website design, get you thinking about how your website should look. And the great part about online business is there's not a lot of trademarks as far as the look and functionality of websites, which means it's completely fine to go to other websites and say, I like this, I'm going to mimic that on my website. That's part of business, and businesses have done this forever, right? Pull the things that are not necessarily trademarked and see if you can do them the same or a little bit better. And so that's what this assignment is about, is to go and see what's out there in your field and see what you like and see what you want to pull into your website. So there's some readings here that'll get you an introduction into web design guidelines. And then what I want you to do is find 2 successful websites that operate under the same business model as your business idea. And then you're going to go through in detail and write out both the URLs you use, and then write a list of 5 similarities and why you think they have those similarities. List one of the websites that you want to pattern yours after and why you chose that, and then explain at least 4 pages that you plan to include along with your rationale why those 4 pages you would include. So for example, give me a second to get my screen set on this, but if I chose Apple.com as a similar model because I'm selling, let's say I'm selling phone cases for my site, I look at this and the similarities I would look for in another site of this nice clean layout. It's a focus on what they want me to see. Immediately when I come to this website, my eyes are here and here, and I'm seeing nothing but that product. I also have an option to purchase right here. So we've got some really crucial parts that I like on Apple.com. There's a simple menu up here. I like the horizontal menu at the top instead of the vertical menu on the side. It's really up to you what's working in your industry, but I just use this as an example of one of how I would assess it and some of the things that I like about the Apple.com site. But look up sites that make sense for you in your industry, ones that would help you design your site the right way. So let me just get this screencast back, and we will jump to our next assignment. You'll have, of course, your discussion board on site design guidelines. And let's jump into our credit card assignment. You may or may not be using credit cards on your website. However, this is an extremely useful skill to have for anyone who owns an online business. You want to be able to make a way for people to pay for what they're purchasing on your site, services, product, whatever it may be. So for this assignment, you will create a button from PayPal. You can do this very simply. You create the button, and then you, if you need to, you don't have to do this part, but if you need to, you would paste that onto your website along with the code that would make it functional. Now this is our first foray into this pseudo coding. We're not really doing coding of a website, but you will generate code and copy and paste it onto your site. It's optional for this assignment if you want to use PayPal, but it will be required for future assignments when we start to use Google Analytics and Google Ads. So this is a good introductory assignment for those things as well, to get you accustomed to generating code. What's that like? How do you copy and paste it onto your site? So the instructions here, as I mentioned, you create the button, whichever button you would choose for your business, and then on a Word document, you want to copy the code from the button. That's what you would place on your website if you were using this. And that code is what you need on your Word document submission. Then, what I think is the most valuable part of this assignment are 3 questions you need to have answered to know if this button will really work for your business. So you're thinking ahead and saying, is this going to work for me? Is this not? What are 3 questions I need answered? And this exercise here comes at the perfect time, because you're going to see a lot of things on other websites that you look up that you want to incorporate on your own. And you need to be thinking ahead and say, all right, if I'm going to use this, then I need to know X, Y, and Z. And so this just gets you thinking like that. But you should really be applying this to a lot of the new and different functions you want to include on your website. And that will help you know, is this worthwhile? Am I going to be successful with this? And it'll get you thinking ahead. And really, if you're going to be successful in online business, it's evolving so rapidly. You want to stay up with the times, but you also want to stop, pause, and ask those questions and say, oh, okay, what do I need to know if this is really going to work for me? The optional steps are to paste that code onto your website so you generate the actual button. You don't have to do that if you're not going to use PayPal on your site. But if you are, there's just the instructions there as well to do it. And that is about it. So a simple 2-topic week. Next week we have Project 2 due, so next week is a little bit more involved. But this week we just have site design guidelines, credit card payments. I hope you're working on Project 2. I don't find it quite as demanding in most cases as Project 1, but it does take up a lot of time. So make sure you've got the time set aside for that so you don't get stuck in a crunch next week when it's due. If you have any questions about these, please reach out. I would love to go over specific questions around your site design or your credit card payments. Thanks, everyone.